I think that settles it. Caleb, you might be the biggest a-hole that I've ever seen. Because the way you rip your friends when you try to push them away, ouch. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The penultimate episode of Starfleet Academy is here. It is called 300th Night. I'm not going to lie. This might be my least favorite episode of the season so far, but it could become one of my favorites when it's all said and done. This episode felt like a bridge to get to the finale. And outside of a big piece that sort of takes place in there, I don't really feel like it moves the needle and needed to be an entire episode by itself. I feel like a lot of this stuff could either been tagged on the beginning or the end of the last episode or the beginning of the next. But this is a bridge to get to that. It could mean a lot more when we get to the finale and sort of put them as a part one and part two of each other, because it ends on a pretty good cliffhanger and it is directed quite well. I see you, Jonathan Frakes. I see you. I just think story-wise, there's not a lot of movement that occurs. But let's get into it. 300th night is the final night of classes at Starfleet Academy. The year is in. We burned through that relatively quickly, but it is the end of the year. They are en route to Beta Z to go do their ceremony to build their government. If you remember earlier in the season, they had that, I think it was episode 2, they had the whole communication about the new Starfleet, the new Federation headquarters is going to be placed at Beta Z. So they're going there to sort of be there for the opening ceremonies and the inauguration of that. And while that is happening, all the kids have sort of started returning back to some semblance of what they were before the Miyazaki situation. So they're getting a bit of joy. Everybody's starting to kind of return to their normal self. Say for Sam. Sam is starting to be an older version of the version that she was when she was a year old when she came to Starfleet. Because of the program that she got from the doctor and Nala, she is now more of a teenager. So she acts more of the age of the rest of the cadets, which may make her a little less wholesome and fun to be around than she was previously. She's still a great character, but a lot of the childlike innocence that existed is now gone. Jaden performs a ceremony where the crew, Darum, Sam, Genesis, and Caleb, are there drinking from the same cup to sort of show their familial ties. Like they are one, they're a bond, they're a family. Everybody takes from the cup except for Caleb. Caleb's like, nah, Darum, you can take my drink. I'm going to dip out because he still doesn't. I feel like for Caleb, he doesn't feel like he wants to completely join and be a part of this family until he figures out what's going on with his family, specifically his mom. And so until he gets some type of closure there, he can't, even though he feels connected to these folks, he can't fully invest or dive in for feeling like he is abandoning his mom. And I think that's where this sort of disconnect comes in from him. We learn from Vance that Braca stole some Omega level bombs from his heist during the Miyazaki run. And he just did a test run on a piece of space that is uninhibited, but it's sort of a test run to show what his power could do. And in this bomb blowing off, it's made it so that no one can travel for millions of years through space and through warp speed, because it's just become impossible to do so. So he's got that, and apparently he's got a ton of them. And so Braca has now gone from, he already went from being enemy number one to now he's a major threat, and he's now showing what his power and what he can do. In a normal situation, because of this, because traveling through space seems a little bit dicey at the moment, we would cancel the Beta Z trip. But Admiral Vance is steadfast and like, nope, we're not going to let them do this. Part of it is because they have already sort of abandoned Beta Z previously. And the reason why that conversation in episode 2 was so contentious is because they felt abandoned. They don't want to do that again. So understood, got it. But he's very much like, nope, we got to go on. And we don't want to show a sign of weakness as well. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't watch any of the previous 2 Star Trek shows, but something about Vance seems off. And I can't put my finger on it, but I don't know if I trust him 100% in all of this. There's always a reason or an excuse for things where he isn't where he's supposed to be, but something seems off with him. Sam chats with Caleb, and she's having a hard time connecting to or respecting even the old version of her. She's looking at some of the memories that happened when she was a kid, and she feels embarrassed and sort of secondhand embarrassment of how she acted when she got there. And Caleb's like, "Look, you were a kid. You were a 1 year old, like a 1 week year old. No harm, no foul. We all love you. You're fine. Don't worry about it." Because she's more thinking like an adult, she does sort of hint at Caleb, like, "Hey, maybe you should try a couple of different things with getting the messages from your mother." And Caleb's like, she doesn't want to reach out. If she wanted to reach out, she would try these other things. And Sam's like, well, have you tried certain things that only you two would know? Maybe she's not on the encrypted one because she knows that too many people would actively go to the encrypted version. Is there something that just the two of you know? And Caleb's like, yeah, I did, but I tried it before she escaped. I have not tried it since then. And so he does. And there's tons of messages there that she left for him. She sent birthday messages and like coordinates and where locations was like, hey, I'm moving from this planet to this planet to this planet. Whatever she can, she has put her location. And she gives her last location, which is in a very treacherous part of space. But she asks for Caleb to come to her, to see her and to come be with her. Because it's in a very dangerous space, a very Braca heavy space that he's kind of just made uninhabitable or for Federation. Like Federation can't go there. And to the point it's about to be annexed. So it's just non grata go to that planet. But Caleb doesn't care. He's got a read and a beat on his mom. He's going to make it go happen. He originally goes to Nala to talk about this, but in that he overhears Nala speaking about how we can't go into that sector of space and how everything in the Federation has to sort of be shut down. So he knows that, like, look, I like to tell Nala, but I can't, because if I tell her where my mom is and how I have to go get her, she's going to have to report that. And if she has to report that, it's going to get her into trouble because she's going to still do what it is she has to do to help me go find my mom. So I'm just going to take her out of the equation and go do it myself. Terrible idea, but that's what he's going to go do. As he's about to make his way to the shuttles to go off on this trip, he does run into Tarima, and he tells Tarima that he hopes she finds peace. And whatever it is she's doing in life, I hope that she finds peace. And he says that, like, look, whenever I hear your name or say your name, it reminds me of music. And that is why I'm so just in awe of you. Like, you remind me of music, and you're a special person. And he just dips. He goes steal his ship, which immediately signals to Tarima, like, what is going on? She can kind of feel it, but she's like, something's up with him. But he heads out to go to the shuttle. He's about to steal one, and then Sam appears and is like, look, I'm going with you. And Caleb's very much like, no, I don't need you to go with me. I go by myself. And Sam kindly tells him, as smart as you are, there are some things that you can't do fast enough that you're going to need me to do on the ship with you. So I'm going, regardless if you want me to or not. And then Genesis and Darum also wind up on the ship through sort of a comedy of errors for Darum. And they all decide to head off. They all go off with him, with Caleb. And so they take off. Genesis sort of acting as a de facto captain, and they make their way out. They do some time warping stuff that kind of cause their presence, but shouldn't have done that. But they make their way out to go find Caleb's mom. Tarima and Jaden learn of Caleb's theft, and they go immediately to Nala. They're the two smart ones. They go to Nala to tell them what's up. And so we then see the Doctor, Nala, and Reno take a shuttle, take the Athena to follow behind Caleb and crew to rescue them and make sure that they're okay. Little do they know, they got Jaden and Tarima as stowaways aboard the Athena. So Caleb and crew land at his mom's last coordinates. It's a very treacherous spot, and they have to hide all their Federation garb because in this place, Federation is hated, and they can't be seen or at all. Caleb finds his mom, and they have a pretty heartfelt moment. It's you can see that she's trying to like sort of make out his face because he's grown up now. He's a grown up Caleb, but it's a very heartfelt and beautiful piece. And they get to connecting and sort of telling anything about each other. And you can tell that like Caleb's in. He's like, I'm locked in. This is my family. This is where I'm supposed to be. He then starts sort of questioning, though, why did she need to use Braca to help escape? And she's like, "Look, I was about to get another couple years added to me. I couldn't do it, so I used him as a means to an end to get out of there. But the second that I could, I broke off from him and made it seem like I was dead, so he didn't think that I was around anymore. He would just leave me be." And then Genesis, Darum, and Sam arrive into their little hiding spot that they're in, and Anish Anisha is very hesitant to them. She doesn't like any new people, but she specifically doesn't like new people who are clean. Like the stuff that she does, this stuff that comes to this planet are all going to be grimy. Their fingernails are going to be dirty. They're going to have some life, some character that exists to them. Now it's funny. She didn't check Caleb to see how clean he was, because she is so much in love with her son and seeing her son. She didn't even clock the fact that he also was clean as they were. Neither here nor there. Genesis realizes that we can't alert that we're Federation to Caleb's mom, and so they come up with a thing saying like, we're just looking for parts. We need some help. Caleb and Anisha help create the piece that they need to get their ship back going again. Nala, Reno, Doc, and the two cadets arrive in the space atmosphere where the kids are, and they start seeing that there's pretty heavy protection that's around this planet. They don't quite get the gist of it fully until the end, but they can see that like, hey, we got to tread lightly around here. They try to beam, see if we can beam them out. They can't quite get them where they're at, so they're gonna have to get a little closer to make sure that they can get the kids out of there. Meanwhile, on the planet, the annexing notice starts happening, and so they gotta get out of there. Anisha goes to go look for a ship to see if she can find a ship that Caleb and she can get off of. She's like, I don't care about your friends, but you and I will find a ship for the two of us. So she goes off, and then Caleb has a moment with the rest of the teams, the cadets, and he is willing to go with his mom. He's like, look, I'm ready to go with her. And then he starts bad mouthing and dripping into each of these kids, Darum, Genesis, like whatever deepest roots that he can find as a friend to harp on, he does, and he lets them have it. And Genesis has a tear, but they also know that this is Caleb coming at it from a way of like, I need to push you away as harshly as I can so that you don't think about me. This doesn't hurt you. Like, I need to do this. Sam ain't going for that. Sam just straight up hugs him, like, man, you're not gonna badmouth me. Like, we gonna hug because I know you're hurting and you're an asshole, but I know that this isn't what you truly want to do, and that if you could take us both with you, you would. So then they split. They go their ways. Caleb tries to go with his mom. Darum, Genesis, and Sam go towards their ship to sort of repair it, and in that they get caught up in like sort of the town square. And questions as to who they are. I was like, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. To the point where Caleb and Anisha hear that they've caught the Starfleet officers in the middle of this town square. And Caleb straight up asks her, like, well, what will happen to them? And Anisha's like, well, they will execute any Federation officer. That's smack in the middle of the square. To which Caleb's like, well, then I got to go back. So he returns back to go save them, to help them get about the situation. Anisha also goes back and tries to save them. And then a fight breaks out. They get enough where they get people away from them enough, and then all of a sudden, big boss moves. The Athena is directly over the planet in enough space, and then beams and tractors up everybody. Not before Anisha does not get a stab wound that she's in pretty bad way. And so they all come up. The four cadets plus Anisha are now on the Athena. Now the Athena got to book it. They got to get up out of there because they're being fired upon left and right because this is Braca's airspace. They're being fired on as they flee to the point where they get far enough out of the atmosphere, but they have to give the saucer part of the ship. The Athena, everybody's on the main part of the ship, the outside part. They're all in the quarters, but the Athena the has a saucer like the old Enterprise did that they can detach, and they detach that off so that Braca's firing goes towards that, and then they flee off a little bit enough, allowing their dish to be destroyed. It gets them out of the jam, but they're kind of stuck. They're in limbo, and so they're trying to reach out to the rest of Starfleet to hail a message to be like, "Hey, what's going on? Give you guys a heads up, like we're in a bad shape." Because then they look out and they see that all the Omega mines that Braca has been placed in a way that it sort of has the Federation boxed in. Like, they can't go anywhere. It's all Federation space is sort of just locked into this one area, except for the Athena without their saucer on the outside with just the cadets, Athena, Reno, Anisha, and the doctor on it. And that's it. And then the episode ends with him going to black, with him still trying to hail anybody in the Federation. And that's how the episode ends. It's a good roller coaster. Like, we're going up, but because there's no ending or there's no finish to it, it's kind of like, this is a bridge to the end till we get to the season finale. Episode as a whole by itself doesn't feel complete, and that's why I'm kind of like, I don't jive with this as well as I probably should. But I will say that this episode does a very good job of sort of just going up the hill, getting us to the point, rising the tensions rise to the point where, like, oh, we about to be in some deep mess at the end of this. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I think somehow Vance is compromised. We get a little bit of it here, and that they keep, before they go make the move to go onto and basically be directly over the planet where the cadets were being captured, if you will. They are trying to hail Vance, and he's not responding. Nala throws it away, saying, like, well, he's not going to respond because he knows that if he does, he's going to have to lie to me, or I'm going to have to lie to him, and it's just best if we just cut that out altogether. And so there's a reason for everything, but something just doesn't feel right. Like, I feel like he's compromised in some way that all of this is sort of happening. But it's going to be interesting to see how the cadets, with Nala, Reno, and the doctor, are able to. They're the only ones on the outside of this, and they have to come up with a way to shut Braca down. I'm excited to see what the next episode is going to bring, and I feel like when that happens, I will respect this episode a lot more after that. What did you guys think about this episode of Starfleet Academy called 300th Night? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.